So hello everybody. Since it's 3 o'clock, I propose we start and everybody else can join us anytime later on. Um, Before we start, I would like to point out that this presentation will be held in English, but of course, when it comes to your questions or if you need any additional explanation, feel free to request that in Slovene and ask your questions in Slovene language. So without further ado, my name is Ira and I work in Famnit International Office, where together with my colleague Tanya, we are the points of coordination of all Erasmus students' mobilities. So we are your point of contact in case of any inquiries, concerns, doubts, questions in regard to your Erasmus study exchange in next academic year. Mm, so this presentation is prioritizing all necessary steps before your start of Erasmus exchange in next year, with which I would like to point out that the timeline for selected students differ in regard to the semester for which you have been selected to take the exchange in. So essentially, if you were selected and you plan to go in winter semester, this means that all these steps and procedures will start earlier than for students selected for summer semester. So for winter semester, you can expect and plan that you will do all necessary steps and receive all essential information in the period between May and July. And for those going in summer semester, you can expect to receive and finalize all the steps between August and October. In any case, before you embark for your study exchange. So there are essentially four main steps that you need to be aware and take care of. The first one is carrying out the application procedure at the host institution. Second, applying for Erasmus co-funding, which is separate procedure. Then applying for the exchange. Third, completing and finalizing your mobility documents. And last but not least, the general preparation, which includes finding housing for your exchange, taking care of your health insurance for your stay abroad, and also in case especially of our non-Slovene students regularly enrolled in FAMNIT, you will need to renew your permits or require visa, but mostly renew your permit to have it valid before you embark for your exchange at the host institution. So, first thing first, all relevant information, including mobility documents template, will be passed to you through your university email. Next week, you can expect to receive preparatory email, which will encapture all information that we'll talk about and address today, including a recording of this session. Additionally, you will get the access to e-classroom for your exchange, where you will be able to find all relevant information that we have, for example, on host institution, including mobility documents that you need and all further links and information that will help you well prepare. So you've been now successfully and officially selected for your exchange. Next, we are currently in the process of informing all the host institutions about your selection. This essentially means that FAMNIT International Office needs to inform host institution accordingly, giving them your contact information, mainly your university email, to which they will then send you all important information in regard to their application procedure. Of course, while waiting for this email from their site, you are welcome to check the host institution website and get acquainted with their study calendar, because for some institutions, the study calendar varies a little bit from ours. So you need to take this into account when you are preparing. But essentially, upon receiving the email from host institution, you will start with application procedure with them. This is mainly administrative procedure, so they can input you in their database, in their digital service that you will be with them next year as a Erasmus mobility student, and deadlines will apply. The host institution will highlight which are the deadlines until when you need to submit your application through them. For the application, you will need to complete the required paperwork, most likely some online form, to which you will be also asked to attach some documents, such as your transcript of records, your scan of ID or passport, and also some kind of English certificate confirming your sufficient knowledge of English. This doesn't go for all institutions, and I would say all of them are accepting different kinds of certificates. Uh, Importantly, for all students at FAMNIT that are enrolled in English study program, we, FAMNIT International Office, will prepare this certificate confirming that we deem your English knowledge sufficient on the basis of your enrollment in English study program. And this certificate you will be able to use as a proof of your English when applying with the host institution. After you successfully submit your application, you will receive acceptance letter from them. And this acceptance letter is essential to be submitted also for co-funding application. So essentially, the Erasmus financial support is not automatically assigned to you upon your selection, but rather there is separate procedure. So this co-funding is dealt by our university project office, and they will contact you directly to your university email. But please be aware that for winter semester exchanges, you will be contacted, I would say, somewhere in June, July. But if you go in summer semester, please don't worry. You will be contacted later on, most likely in September or October. Because of course there is quite a lot of you, and it's administratively easier and more systematic to deal with all of you in two different batches. But in any case, you will be able to apply for co-funding online, upon which your financial agreement will be drafted. You will need to sign it, and the rector will sign it. And afterwards, the transaction of the majority of the funds for your Erasmus will be transacted to your stated bank account. So before you go for your exchange. And the basis for concluding the financial agreement that you will need to present when applying online for co-funding are acceptance letter and finalized learning agreement, to which we'll get a little later on. What are your co-financing options? They are granted on the basis of host country. So essentially, through Erasmus program, all host countries are divided into three different groups, depending on the estimated living expenses. So monthly grant to which you are entitled is somewhere between 674 euros to 550 euros, depending on the country of destination. As additional to that, you will receive support for travel costs based on the distance and mode of travel. So in case you decide to travel green, so with train or with bus, you are entitled to receive even more support for travel costs, promoting green travel. And there are also some additional funding available for so-called students with fewer opportunities, in which sections eligible students are, for example, those who are receiving state scholarship or have any decision from CSD or with special needs. This can be proved and verified with Project Office once you will be applying through online form for the co-funding. But already now you are welcome to check those options through Annex 3, which was appendix to the call and is available online also through this link in the PowerPoint that you will receive through email later on. Up to this point, are there any questions that we can address already now before we tackle the mobility documents? Okay, if not, you can feel free to ask them also later. So, next very important and the most administrative part of your preparation is finalizing two core documents for your mobility. One is called Online Learning Agreement, or short OLA, and the other one, which serves only as an internal form, is called Request for Prior Approval of Participation in Different Types of Mobility, or short request. So essentially, online learning agreement is tripartite agreement, which means that you need to sign it, responsible person for FAMNIT, which is study program coordinator, needs to sign it, and then also responsible person at the host institution at their signature. These documents includes the selected courses at the host institution for your exchange and their counterparts at FAMNIT. Similar, the internal application form request for prior approval also includes all the courses you will take for your exchange and the proposed recognition procedure at FAMNIT. But for internal form, the only signing parties are inside FAMNIT. So first, you sign it, then study program coordinator of your study program sign it, and last step is signing by referat, so by student services, upon your submission via email. Online learning agreement is accessible through online platform. The process is quite straightforward. You can also check some YouTube videos in regard to how to log into OLA and how to create one, also how to make changes later on. But essentially, you need to use your university credentials to log in. So the same information, the same credentials that you are using for SHIS and e-classroom. Then you will have the option to create OLA, in which you will first need to include some general information about you, about sending institution, and also about receiving institution. So in this PowerPoint, you have listed the sending institution information, also Erasmus code of our university and FAMNIT. And the contact person for administrative purposes is myself or FAMNIT International Office. And for sending responsible person who is also signatory person for OLA, this is your study program coordinator. So you essentially list your study program coordinator and their email in this section. And for the receiving institution part, the information will be passed on by the host institution. Mostly you will need the information who is the responsible person from their side. Next, we have the internal document request for prior approval, which is accessible in Excel. It's on 2 pages. And again, first, you will be asked to input information about yourself. I think those information are quite straightforward. You can see now here the screenshot of the first page. Under previously recognized credit points, please list all credit points that you already gained as part of some short-term or long-term mobility, either through Erasmus or T4EU, or any study outcomes that you recognize and take on formally outside of the FAMNIT. If you will be confused about this information, you can, of course, seek advice from us and we'll see what is the correct information to input. But if you have not yet attended any mobility so far or selected any courses outside of FAMNIT, then you just input 0 or dash. Next is information about the mobility program. You need to input name of the host institution and Erasmus code. Erasmus codes are freely accessible through internet. You can Google them. Title of the mobility program, please input Erasmus Study Exchange. And then for duration of in-person participation, please input the planned dates. So you don't need to input the exact dates of your mobility, but like the planned one will suffice. Duration virtual participation, in your case, this doesn't apply, so you can leave it empty. Then the most important part from recognition points of view is, of course, the next two tables on the page 2. So under information about course units to be completed during mobility, you list the exact names of the courses you will take at the host institutions. Of course, you can also include course codes, but this is not necessary information to input. You can leave it empty. Then you also need to appropriately mark how many credit points these courses are accredited at the host institution. And under course description, you need to input yes, because you will include it with your request when you will send it via email to first coordinator for review and approval, and then to referat. Scope of recognized courses is in most cases full, so those courses will be fully recognized. Just in case that you plan to recognize one course as part inside of one FAMNIT course, this recognition would be partial. And now I can see that I made a mistake while fulfilling this request, because if we see marked yellow, the course Introduction to Machine Learning at the host institution, it's accredited with 5 points. Which means that this could be partially then recognized as inside of FAMNIT course, machine learning and data mining. Those examples are only symbolic nature. So to help you maybe imagine better what you need to input. And then, I apologize, let's go back a little bit more. In the last table, course units at the home faculty, you need to input name of the courses or units at FAMNIT. So essentially, if you plan to recognize obligatory course, then you would input the exact name of this course. Please note that recognizing obligatory courses is not really often case. Of course, it's possible, but you need to seek the approval also from course leader of this course. The majority of the courses from study exchanges are recognized as elective courses, either internal electives or external electives. So in this example, we have a proposal that consists of 2 internal elective courses accredited by 6 points each, and 1 external elective course also accredited with 6 points. So you can see, I also colored them. You can maybe take this approach when fulfilling your request too. You can color things to be more visible. It's completely adequate. So essentially, for external elective course, at FAMNIT, which is 6 credit points, you will combine Spanish language for beginners, 4 credits, and research skills and practices, 2 credits, giving you together 6 credits. And in all these cases, the recognition will be full, but there is 1 credit point left extra. So in this case, you can recognize it as outside of the program for extra credits. Recognizing courses as outside of the program for extra credits is a viable option for all of you who will have the majority of courses already done on FAMNIT before you go for an exchange, for example, during absolvent year. Or if you plan to finish them all at FAMNIT, you can freely then recognize all courses from your study exchange as outside of program for extra credits, and this is also the most straightforward procedure. Uh, Please take into the account that from FAMNIT perspective, you are not obliged to take minimum or maximum number of credit points from your exchange. You need to include at least 1 course. This is the requirement also for mobility documents, but please be aware that some host institutions may request from you that for drafting your online learning agreement, you include, for example, 20 credit points worth courses. That you will then need to do. But this doesn't mean that you are then obliged to pass those courses. Of course, it's highly recommendable to bring as many credits back from your exchange as you can. But essentially, if you do not bring back those credits, you will need to pass all study obligations at FAMNIT in order to successfully then graduate. If we look at the finalization of paperwork step by step, so first, upon you will receive information from host institution about application procedure, this will also include their course offer. So first you will choose courses in accordance with your curriculum, so with your study obligations that are still left. So for next year that you will be in, we recommend that you select courses from the exact semester that you are going to or from the same academic year. You have the possibility of recognizing courses for higher year. So for example, if you are going for your exchange in 2nd year, you can recognize courses for 3rd year. But other way around is not permitted. So you cannot recognize, for example, courses from 1st year because you are already in 2nd year. Also, keep in mind that each time that you enroll into higher year, in your enrollment paper, you need to mark your electives. So during this summer, before October, you will be continuing to next year. And of course, you need to keep in mind, you need to keep your student status, of course, active, because if not, you will then not be able to go for your exchange. So essentially, when you enroll to higher year, when you select electives and you plan to recognize them on the exchange, please select option elective course Erasmus program, because in this way, this will be input in your index and you will be able to recognize this elective course from your exchange. Because in case that you already select specific internal or external course at FAMNIT, this means to make it appropriate administratively, you will need to submit SHIS request to change this to elective course Erasmus program. And this can be done each semester at the beginning of each semester in first 2 weeks. But essentially, this is the most optimal time to think of ahead because now it's still plenty of time, especially for those who are going in winter semester, but also for those going in summer, to prepare the mobility documents, to see what is your plan to recognize from the exchange. And then when you are enrolling through SHIS, you can select the electives appropriately. Next, you need to fill out your online learning agreement through online platform and also request for prior approval in Excel. We suggest warmly that you complete them at the same time as they need to include identical information. So the name of the courses need to be identical. Also, the recognition procedure needs to be stated the same in both documents. Next, you export OLA to PDF and send it together with your request and course descriptions through email to your study program coordinator. We recommend that you also include in the copy international at famni.upr.si, just in case you will need some administrative support or checkup or any assistance, so we are kept in the loop with your procedure. Then, when you will receive study program coordinator's feedback, you will be able to modify your documents accordingly if needed. And after that, we recommend that you add your signature only then when you have the approval from your study program coordinator. To OLA, you will add your signature online, and to internal application form, to the request for prior approval, you will add it in the Excel. Please note that the verified digital signature is not requested. So you can, for example, add your signature if you have it saved in some image in your computer, or add it through Excel as insert. This will suffice. Once your request for prior approval is approved and signed by the coordinator, you proceed with its submission to Famnit Referat via email. And essentially, with this, you complete the needed submission before your exchange for recognition procedure. All other documents you will present after you return from your exchange. And considering OLA, after you and study program coordinator signed OLA, the host institution responsible person will also sign it through online platform. And with this, your online agreement will be finalized. Are there maybe any questions about recognition procedures, mobility documents before we continue? Please feel free to write your questions in chat too if it's more comfortable for you. Okay, last but not least, also general preparation is very important. Uh, I think first and foremost, finding and securing viable accommodation for your stay. Uh, Often partner institutions offer some spots in student dormitories. If not, they offer assistance with finding accommodation through private offers or with help of local Erasmus Student Network Student Society. And also there is one useful platform which is called Erasmus Play platform, which is secure place where you can find some ads for a private accommodation offer in different European countries. Next, it's very important that you take care of your health insurance. At least obligatory health insurance is required. So for all EU citizens, European health insurance card is available free of charge, which covers the necessary health insurance in cases of urgency. And this can be acquired through ZZZS in case of Slovenia, or through national provider of your country. Otherwise, we advise you to have commercial insurance through any health insurance provider, at least the obligatory health insurance one, but supplementary course insurance is health insurance is also advisable. Next, we recommend that you brush up your language, most likely English a little bit, with using some language tools such as online language support through EU Academy. And also, as mentioned, in case that you have permit for your stay in Slovenia, you will need to renew it before you embark on your study exchange, because on the basis of Slovene permit, you will be then able to stay with a partner institution long term because you are going for at least whole semester. Of course, it's good to also be mindful of any potential cultural differences and especially to keep open minds to be able to take advantage of your Erasmus experience the most you can, not only study-wise, but also personally-wise. At this point, I would also point out that communication is key. Please use your university student email only for all your communication in regard to your study exchange, and keep all parties informed. This goes for us, so international office, and also partner institution, in case that you make some changes later on to your course selection, or in case that you, for any personal reason, need to cancel your study exchange. Please do inform us as soon as possible about that. And also keep in mind to allow some time for a receiver of your email to respond. We recommend waiting at least 4 days before you resend the email, especially when it comes to communicating with your study program coordinators and professors. As mentioned, during the mobility, you will still have the possibility to change course selection if needed. But of course, then when you make the changes or decide for the change, you make then modifications to your mobility documents only once you're certain, so you avoid making changes multiple times. So essentially, through OLA, you will be able to only edit your initial OLA with changes, but for request for prior approval, you will need to submit new one in case of changes. If everything stays the same, then you don't need to make any changes. And also to keep in mind that mobility documents in any case will be finally finalized at the end of your exchange. We have this, let's say, informative 30 days deadline for your submission of documents when you return from the mobility, mostly to make sure that you do that as soon as possible, especially in case that courses that you finish for your exchange are essential to be recognized for your regular continuation to higher year. And in any case, it's advisable to be prompt with this and reach out through email with all mobility documents. But don't worry, you will receive further information about those finalizing documents at the time of finishing your study exchange next year. And after the mobility, as mentioned, you will finalize the recognition procedure documents. And then upon this, they will be input in your index. And also the exchange will be input under your additional remarks to the diploma. So it will be mentioned in diploma supplement. Also, we warmly recommend that you get involved with Erasmus Student Network here in Primorska, and also to share your Erasmus experience then with your peers to inspire and encourage them to participate in similar programs. Okay, to conclude with, we now went through 4 main steps for your preparation, including general preparation, completing the mobility documentation necessary before your mobility, so online learning agreement and request for prior approval. Then applying for Erasmus co-funding, and also finishing application procedure at the host institution. In general, we advise you to create your personal timeline and to be attentive, responsive, and well organized. Don't be afraid to ask questions and ask for assistance or support if you need one. And also to not get overwhelmed by all the tasks taking place at the same time. Most certainly, you have still ample amount of time, no matter in which semester you are going, to complete all necessary tasks. And as mentioned, we are available to you either through email or also in person in our Famnit International office, located in Koper on Glagoljaška on second floor. So feel free to reach to us through email. And also, if you plan to visit us in person, please do inform us in advance through email so we can make sure we are available in the office